If you remove the word happiness from your mind, you might actually become happier. If I could offer one piece of advice to young people, it would be this. Instead of striving to gain more, focus on removing unnecessary burdens. Don't think about getting rich. Simply focus on not falling into poverty. Don't obsess over becoming perfectly healthy. Instead, vow not to fall into illness. Don't chase constant entertainment. Instead, try to avoid unnecessary criticism and blame. These are realistic principles for living. If you follow them, you'll find small but definite victories along the way. And if you manage to erase the word happiness from your expectations, it'll become much easier to stick to these principles. One of my favorite French sayings goes, "The better is the enemy of the good." The cynics rejected pleasure not because they were indifferent to joy, but because even the slightest pleasure often came with hidden pain. They believed it was better to live without pleasure and without pain than to be trapped in an endless cycle of fleeting joys and inevitable sorrows. As a result, their lives may not have been filled with happiness, but they were free from suffering. In life, falling into misery is easy. Achieving true happiness is rare. Letting go of the pursuit of happiness isn't about despair or cynicism. It's about making the wisest possible choice. That choice marks the beginning of real wisdom. Life is not about chasing happiness. It's about learning how to avoid unnecessary suffering. The cynics knew this well. They rejected pleasure, not because they didn't enjoy it, but because they understood that every pleasure carries, even if only a little, an inevitable pain. They believed that a life without pleasure, and therefore without pain, was far better than a life caught in the endless chase of fleeting joys and deep disappointments. They dedicated themselves fully to removing pain from their lives. Naturally, this meant their days were not particularly joyful, but they were also not burdened by suffering. In life, it's easy to become unhappy. True happiness, however, is rare and elusive. Giving up the pursuit of happiness is not an act of weakness. It is not despair. It is not cynicism. It is the beginning of wisdom. Wisdom comes when we stop expecting life to deliver constant satisfaction. It begins when we recognize that life, by its nature, cannot promise us unending pleasure. To live wisely is to focus not on adding endless joys to our days, but on carefully removing the pains we do not need to bear. Until the age of 36, we live off the interest of time. After that, we begin to spend the principle itself. In youth, even when we waste time, it feels as if there's always more. The losses seem small, just a bit of wasted interest. But once the interest stops and we start spending the principal, every passing hour feels heavier, and every loss cuts deeper. As we grow older, we find ourselves clinging to what little time remains. We grasp for more, driven not by greed, but by the fear that time is running out. When you are young, you barely notice the small deficits. But with age, you realize that the currency of life, time, is being steadily withdrawn, and there's no way to replenish it. This is why older people often seem more desperate, more possessive. They are not chasing riches. They are fighting the terrifying realization that their time is slipping away. When you're exhausted, reflection becomes a dangerous trap. You sit down at the end of the day, trying to review what went wrong. But instead of gaining clarity, you find only frustration, anger at yourself, resentment toward others, and a deepening sense of gloom. This spiral of negativity doesn't bring wisdom. It just buries you deeper in fatigue and despair. Self-hatred often disguises itself as reflection. It tricks you into thinking you're making progress when you're really just punishing yourself for being tired and human. When exhaustion weighs you down, the best thing you can do is simple. Sleep, not think, not write in a journal, not force yourself to set new goals. Just eat well, sleep well, and wake up early to greet a new day. When you're overwhelmed by your own failures and frustrations, the answer isn't deeper reflection. It's giving your body and mind the simple, honest rest they need. Reflection should come from a place of strength, not from the pit of exhaustion. When you find yourself spiraling into endless self-criticism, remember, it's not enlightenment, it's just fatigue, crying out for mercy. True strength lies not in grand achievements, but in the quiet mastery of everyday life. A healthy, vibrant life comes from a balance between the body and the mind. But such a life is rare, and it demands a price. The price is discipline. Good habits are not a burden. They are an investment in your future self. And the foundation of all good habits is patience. Patience doesn't mean forcing yourself to endure beyond your limits. It means knowing your limits and honoring them. Pushing yourself until you collapse isn't strength. It's self-destruction. You don't have to match others step for step. You don't have to compete in a race you never agreed to join. Your real task is simple. Find a sustainable rhythm that respects your mind, your body, and your spirit. When you live according to a quiet, steady set of rules, your own rules, you build a life that, over time, becomes your greatest personal achievement. Even when the world around you is noisy and chaotic, you carry a private order within yourself. In the end, greatness isn't found in flashy moments. It's built, slowly and invisibly, through the quiet repetition of small, deliberate choices. Honor and reputation, these are fragile illusions. True worth is not determined by what others say about you. It's defined by who you are when no one is watching. Yet society clings to the idea that our value is tied to public approval, that being judged positively by others somehow makes us more real, more worthy. It's a dangerous trap. If you make mistakes and people criticize you, so be it. If they spread lies about you, let them. You are not their gossip. You are not their judgment. Getting angry because someone insults you is like kicking a donkey because it stepped on your foot. The donkey doesn't know what it's done, and neither do they. The wise know that honor and reputation are light as air. They understand that the louder the world demands you defend your image, the more hollow that image becomes. You are not a product to be displayed on a shelf, polished for the approval of strangers. You are a living, breathing soul, whole, complete, and unrepeatable. Protect your inner dignity, not your public image. The world sees only surfaces. You must guard what lies beneath. Life is filled with mistakes and accidents, but mistakes are not failures, and accidents are not the end of the story. No one can predict the chain of events that will follow a single misstep. Sometimes what seems like a disaster turns into unexpected fortune. Sometimes a flawless plan collapses under the weight of pure chance. You don't need to have absolute certainty, because chance, for better or worse, will always walk beside you. When misfortune strikes, it's useless to wish it hadn't happened. It's too late for regret. It's too late for guilt. Accept the blow. Record it in the pages of your life, and turn the page. There is no honor in clinging to past suffering. There is no wisdom in endlessly punishing yourself for things you cannot change. True strength lies in acceptance, in recognizing that even in the face of loss, you are still whole. You don't need to defend your honor against every whisper. You don't need to explain yourself to every doubter. Those who truly live understand this. Life is too precious to waste on appearances, too short to waste on bitterness. In the end, the only thing that matters is this: that you lived honestly, that you faced each day with courage, and when your final page turns, you can say, "I did my best. I have no regrets."